Hi, this is Kathryn Rose Newey from KathrynRoseNewey.com, and I'm with Matt Pryor, who's a vegan and a vegan activist. Vegan in 5 is a series of videos about veganism, 5 questions in 5 minutes across 5 videos. Today's topic is What on Earth, where we talk about the link between environmental issues and food. So how is what we eat linked to the environment and the planet?
Well, for a start, our food has to come from somewhere. So if it's an animal, how was that animal farmed? If it's a crop, how was that crop farmed? And we find obviously at most occasions these days that something is intensively farmed or we just have monoculture over a vast stretch of land, which obviously has a massive effect on the environment. All the pesticides and that go into the river streams.
Right, okay. Or waste from animals.
Waste from animals, exactly,
yeah.
which is, and things like that.
Okay, so maybe we'll talk about some examples.
Yeah.
So, for example, why is cattle farming for beef? Why is that bad for the planet?
Well, for a start, I mean, cattle farming needs a lot of land.
Okay.
So, in the Amazon rainforest, which is mainly in Brazil, a lot of trees are being cut down in the Amazon rainforest at a ridiculous pace, like just so they can clear space for cattle farming. On top of that, you've got a lot of soil and a lot of water that are used for not just cattle farming, but every other animal used in animal agriculture.
Yeah.
So I mean, per pound of beef, for instance, the amount of water that goes into that pound of beef for that cow to drink and everything like that, it's insane. The amount of water used. On top of that, the studies that have come out recently, if you've seen like What the Health, for instance, they've changed their statistics since, but 18% of all greenhouse gas emissions are because of animal agriculture.
Right, okay.
I mean, that's more than any other, like for instance, that's more than transport, that's more than the oil industry, so it's mad. Yeah.
So what about fish? Is that better?
No, not at all. I mean, the fisheries all around the world are being overused, they're overexploited. The amount of fish, the amount of biofuel that they're pulling in at the same time as they've got their target fish, say it's salmon.
Yeah.
They're bringing in 1 pound of salmon.
Yeah.
And they're also bringing in 5 pounds of biofuel, whether that be smaller fish, whether that be a shark, whether that be a dolphin, it could be anything.
Yeah.
And
so what happens to those?
Well, they're killed.
Right.
That's just part of it, and then they're not used at all.
Just thrown back into the ocean.
Yeah, it's a byproduct, I guess is what they would call it.
Yeah.
And because of that, we're now left with, according to scientists, around 30 years left of fish in the oceans of the world.
Have any more fish.
Well, they used to be able to recover. If we go back 50, 100 years, they used to be able to recover, but now it's not. They're not being able to recover. Not given time.
Okay, so let's talk about factory farming.
Mm-hmm.
What is it, and why are most animals across the planet farmed in this way?
Well, it's a form of intensive farming. I mean, it comes down to supply and demand. Because the demand has been there, and it continues to be increased.
Right.
Because the amount of variety of products that we have now, whether that be processed meats or processed cheese, or the way our diets have developed, especially in the Western world, so much more meat is needed in order to meet that demand.
Yeah.
And the only way they've been able to do that is they've had to decrease quality of welfare for animals, so they get a lot less space, they get a lot more feed with like hormones and things like that in it, and it just creates this very unsustainable environment and industry that claim to be feeding the world and keeping us healthy, that obviously they're not, because then comes in all these epidemics that we're struggling with, like heart disease and obesity and things like that.
And there must be a lot of pollution as well from these intensive farms.
And that all stems from the fact that the demand has dramatically increased. And so that's the only way that they can make it. You can't
to cut costs, don't they? So,
the whole world cannot live on grass-fed beef. It's not possible. So they have to have this factory farming. And obviously because of that, conditions are horrendous.
What about organic and free range? Are they any better?
Well, from my perspective, absolutely not. I mean, there's still the death of an animal. It doesn't matter how that animal was raised; they all still go to the same slaughterhouse. So, to me, it's still a life being taken. It doesn't matter what life they've been leading before. And
so the only benefit really to consumers is probably from a health point of view, that maybe there's more nutrients in that meat, or because it was grass-fed or whatever.
It doesn't make it it doesn't make it healthy for us. Like for instance, they're still fed similar foods. It's just they may have more space in which to roam and in which to sort of have their natural habits, you
Right,
know, like a
okay,
chicken
yeah.
with a dust bath, or
Yeah.
a pig rolling around in mud, for instance.
Yeah.
You know.
Remember, veganism is about compassion. Compassion for animals and the planet, and compassion for yourself and your family. What do you think this planet's worst environmental crisis is? Write your comments and questions below the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.